We are back and better than ever. My guy, Triple B in the building. Mickey, what's good, bro? It's been a while. I miss you. I'll be honest. You're giving out some banger plays, helping me out, helping each other out. What's good, bro?
It has been a while, but we got a great card for this week. Last week, UFC London, it didn't really quite live up as far as like the finishes that we had the last time the UFC was in London, but that's hard to follow the last card because that was almost every single fight was a finish. But personally, had a crazy card on that one, hit a crazy parlay that ended up winning like 14 units, but standalone still had like 11 units off that, so it would have been amazing even without that parlay. But over 25 units on that card alone, easily one of my best cards ever. So coming off that card, it's going to be very, very hard to top that, but definitely ready to get into this card. I don't know about you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for this one. This card, there's a lot of fun fights and fun fighters on it that are not necessarily mainstream public kind of fighters. So I think, I think we're going to get a lot of fights ending early. So those are always the kind of fights that excite me. And I'm ready to get right into it, man, because we were talking before we started this recording, and this first fight that we're going to break down, I was excited that you wanted to talk about it as well. So let's get right into 277. The first fight that we're going to talk about is actually the curtain jerker. This is the first fight of the night. Orion Koski going up against Mike Diamond, Mike Mathia, but we're going to call him Blood Diamond, baby. Blood Diamond is coming in. He's around a plus 160 underdog. You mentioned it first, man, so I want to throw it to you. You tell me what excites you about this fight and what are you leaning towards?
Yeah, this fight I think is I can't believe it's starting off this card. It's one of my favorite ones here. I love Blood Diamond in this one. First of all, the nickname Blood Diamond is got to be one of my favorite nicknames in the UFC. I just think that's a dope name, and it's got a little bit of a story behind it if you don't know about him. It happens to do with a lot of his culture and what's going on back in home country and the Blood Diamonds, like literally. So it's cool. I hope he can get a win here, not only because I'm betting on him in this one, but because every time he wins, he gets to tell more about his story. But he's he is my favorite underdog in this fight. One of my biggest plays. I have another big play that I will definitely be going over later, but I love him in this spot. They're both coming off a loss, but I love Mike Diamond in this one. Blood Diamond, Mike, whatever you want to call him. As long as he gets the win, he's going to be my best friend after this one. Get him in at some good plus money here, depending on where you got at the book. You can get him at plus 165 range, and I'm laying the hammer on this one. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I anytime a fighter comes in and he's relatively a prospect like Blood Diamond, he was getting a lot of buzz going into his last fight. Me personally, I was on Jeremiah Wells in that first fight. Jeremiah Wells comes from a camp that I think is making a lot of noise in UFC. Daniel Gracie in Philly. I'm pretty sure all their fighters are undefeated. It's like 16-0 is that camp. And it was just a tough draw for Blood Diamond. For those that might not know, he's from City Kickboxing. Kai Kara France, Alex Volkanovski, Izzy over there, one of Adesanya's main training partners. And I like this spot that he's in. This is a way lesser of an opponent in comparison to the first one that he got. Coming in as an underdog, I think we're getting him super undervalued against a guy who is, he's nothing too crazy. He's not going up against a future contender by any means. He'll probably never be ranked at 170. So I'm with you, man, on Blood Diamond. I like him as a dog. He's probably one of my favorite underdogs as well. If I had to rank him, he's probably second. We'll get to the one that I really, really like in just a little bit. But I'm with you on this first fight. I think it's a nice way to get some early action on a guy that we're pretty confident in.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm glad this one gets to kick off the card here. It's going to be a tone setter for me on this card. Yeah, like you said, he lost to Jeremiah Wells, but I think Jeremiah Wells is a dog. So, I think a lot of people are down on him simply because of that. But, man, I don't really knock him much for that loss there because I think Wells is another guy that's, looking at who each of them lost to in their last fight, he's like you were giving him his props there. Like you said, you were on him. I think Wells is really good. I think this is a great bounce back spot for Blood Diamond. And like I said, I'm going to be hammering him. So don't want to spend too much time on this first fight because, man, we got some good ones coming up here too.
Yeah, the last thing I'll just say is, trust the camp also. Like City Kickboxing is a really good camp. So you're getting a guy coming in at plus 160. Next up, we got Dontel Mays coming up against Hamdi Abdullawabi. I might have crushed that. I don't know, man. We'll have to check after the fact, but I think that was a good one there. All right. The reason why I wanted to talk about this fight is because this is a debuting fighter in Hamdi who's 3-0. But I believe all his professional fights are within the last 11 months. So he's being kind of fed opponents. He's coming from Egypt, which is not really a hot spot for MMA. The one thing that I like about this fight is I'm looking at it to not go the distance. I know it's not exactly the craziest take, especially when you're looking at some of the odds. The fight doesn't go to distance is minus 185. Look, don't expect too much. I'm leaning towards the Mays side, and the line has moved significantly. This opened up like a borderline of pick'em, Mickey, and now he's up to as high as minus 200 in many places. Dontel Mays should win this fight. He should get a stoppage. But again, I'm not confident in low-level heavyweight MMA. Sometimes it can get really ugly. That's why I'm leaning towards the fight doesn't go to distance.
Yeah, for me, I think since this has been steamed so much, being able to get Hamdi at this high of a price is I'm going with the value on this one here. Looking at his fights, like you said, it's been some low-level MMA, but they both are not very high-level heavyweights. My bad. They're not high-level heavyweights, and when you got that, getting them both like this, the plus money here it stands out to me. I love my plus money, and especially in the UFC. But looking at 4 of his 5 fights have been first-round finishes. Again, like you said, you don't want to put too much into that because of how much he hasn't really fought crazy competition here. But I can't look away from that right now, and just if I had to, have a bet on this one, I like Hamdi here. I think getting the plus money, like you said, it opened around a pick 'em, so there's definitely a lot of money coming in on Mays, but it's hard to pass up on the value, in my opinion, on Hamdi.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think if you like Hamdi, especially with how the line has moved so far away from him, then why not? For me, though, I think fight doesn't go to distance. I'm going to be piecing it to a couple of parlays because both of these guys, they hunt for finishes too. And it's heavyweight, so it doesn't take much. You don't even need to connect clean. But all right, let's move on to the next one. This is one that I mentioned I wanted to talk about. Drew Dober coming in at minus 205 against Alvis. I'm a Drew Dober guy. I think he's one of the guys that I like betting on. Very tough, very durable. He's comfortable wherever the fight goes. He's also fought Islam Makhachev too, which was nice to see him take a big step up in competition. To me, I think the later the fight goes, the stronger Drew Dober is going to get. So I think at minus 205, it's one of my favorite bets on the card, him just to win this fight outright.
All right, you're not going to like this then because, man, I like Alvis here. I like Rafael.
Okay.
Drew Dober, I love him too. I love he doesn't quit. I mean, if you watched his last fight, that's the definition of him not quitting because he was getting, beat to a pulp by McKinney there. And then out of nowhere, he just decides, hey, like I'm gonna finish you. Literally the whole fight was basically him getting, tossed around, and then it literally was just a flip of a switch. I think McKinney almost kind of just gasped of like, dude, I can't finish this guy. So I mean, that was a crazy fight. Watching Drew Dober come back from that, but again, just this plus money stares at me, and I see it, and it's like, man, I feel like this is gonna be another banger fight in my opinion. I think it's gonna be a good fight, fun fight, and I like Raphael in this spot here though. The plus money, man, it always gets me. It always suckers me in. Sometimes it ends up biting me in the butt. But I mean, I like the way Raphael has fought though. He hasn't fought since November of 2021. But Diakakis, I always butcher his name, but we saw him last week on the card. He's obviously improved a lot since that fight, but we saw him sub him. We saw him lose to Ismagulov in a unanimous decision, but I don't know. I just really like Alvis in this spot.
Okay. What do you think of Alvis inside the distance? Because I think this is the kind of fight that for Alvis to win, I can't see him winning a decision. His fight style is very aggressive. I think he's like a round one or bust kind of fighter for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that. The only thing that's a little scary about that is, especially watching that last fight where Drew Dober just decided he wasn't going to be finished. But yeah, I mean, I would lean with that as well. Like, especially, a lot of times when you like these dogs and it's this type of fighter, like you said, I think you can get more value out of that. But sometimes I when I'm already taking a dog like this, I get a little nervous about, we've talked about it before where you get greedy and you're like, man, if I would have just took him straight, and you end up taking one of those sub lines or something. And so I think I'm going to play the money line, but I agree with you. I think inside the distance isn't a bad play at all.
Yeah. You know what? When we get to a fight on the main card, I'm going to give you the example of a 3-1 dog that I took all his props and he ended up winning the fight anyway. And I made nothing off of it. So I know exactly what you mean. All right, let's move on over to, I believe, the main card. And just to start us off, I think it's pretty cool. This spot here for Anthony Smith. I mentioned before with Blood Diamond, one of the dogs that I am on was Blood Diamond, and this is the other one. Anthony Smith coming in at around plus 430, plus 400, going up against Magomed Ankalaev, who Ankalaev has only one loss, and it's one of the wildest losses you'll ever see a fighter. I mean, he's fighting Paul Craig and he's dominating him, and with 1 second left in the third, gets submitted. And it was the most outrageous thing ever. That's the only blemish on his record. He's coming in as a big favorite. Now, Mickey, the one thing I'm going to talk about Anthony Smith in just a second, but about Ankalaev is he fights very weird, man. Like he won't engage if he doesn't want to. He'll have a significant grappling advantage over someone and he'll just not engage in it. So before I talk about Anthony Smith, how are you feeling about this fight?
Yeah, personally, this is I think it's a fight that he should win, Ankalaev, but I don't think he's much more than a parlay piece. I don't feel comfortable taking any specific props on him because, like you said, he can have an advantage in certain areas and he just won't take it. I personally, maybe it's a parlay piece, but even then, it's a minus 500 and so I'm interested to hear what you have. I don't have an official play on this one. I may end up using a parlay piece, but if you got something special for me, I might tell you on that.
So I think Anthony Smith might have the submission upside in this fight. Anthony Smith is a very tough and overall complete fighter. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's the best, but he could stand up with anybody. He could take it to the ground with anybody. And he's a guy who it takes a lot for him to give up in a fight. I think he might have the grappling advantage here, which is weird when you say that against a Russian, especially when they have that beard going on. But I think Anthony Smith inside the distance is very, very interesting to me. I think that's the only way he could win this fight is inside the distance. And you can find that as high as plus 750 to win inside the distance. Now, what you just said about Alvis is like, dude, Anthony Smith is a 4-1 dog. Just take him outright. And if he does, let's remember this too. This card is in America. It's in Dallas. It's a Russian fighter. Like, Dallas is It's very American down there, right? So like, who knows how these judges, and we've seen it with Texas judging before. They get some wild and weird decisions. Anthony Smith is the best opponent that Ankalaev has faced up until now in the UFC. There's a guy who formerly fought John Jones, and if he wasn't a fighter's fighter, it probably would have been the champion because he threw an illegal knee at Anthony Smith. There's just something about Anthony Smith, man. He's saying all the right things in the pre-fight stuff. He looks good. He looks focused and motivated because everyone is passing him in the division. You know, it's like Yuri and Glover are going to run it back. Ankalaev, he's like, yeah, I'm still here. Like, I'm the number 4 guy in the world for a reason. So at 4-1, I think he's very live, and I like him inside the distance. And the last thing, 14-1 to win by sub. And we've seen Ankalaev get subbed before. So that's kind of how I'm approaching this one, man.
Yeah, Paul Craig is a wizard. So that's like a whole nother level. But I agree with you. Yeah, there's definitely a path for it. I think this will be one of those where I'll definitely be, especially if I don't have the bet on it, I'll be rooting for your bet on this. But I'm probably going to tell you on this one. I like that play. I love those plus money plays. So I'm definitely down to ride with you on that one.
Yeah, you could get Ankalaev at plus 105 to win by decision. The fight is favored to go the distance, which is something that jumped out to me, especially at light heavyweight and top contenders like this. It was weird to see that it's favored to go the distance. So I would probably play it Anthony Smith inside the distance or on the money line. And then I'm not laying minus 475 on a favorite. I'll probably try to hunt a decision. And if Ankalaev wins by knockout, then, it is what it is. You take the L and you move on. Yeah. All right. Next fight we got is Alex Perez against Alexander Pantoja. Pantoja coming in at minus 165. Shout out to the flyweights. We got 2 flyweight fights on the main card after just, a couple of years ago, Dana and the UFC wanted to get rid of the flyweight division. And now you got 2 of the 5 fights on the main card with the flyweights. Lead us off, man. How you feeling about this fight?
Yeah, I hope I'm not on the different side as you on this one, but I like Pantoja a lot. I'm surprised he's not a little bit more of a favorite, honestly. But a little bit of that might be just some of my bias because, man, I love Pantoja, and I'm just ready to see this fight. I'm gonna lay the juice with Pantoja on this one. I think he gets it done. And like I've shown on this card so far, I don't like laying juice very much, but I'm gonna be drinking the juice on this one.
Pantoja, I think, has a massive grappling advantage here. One of the props that I am very interested in is Pantoja to win this by submission at 3-1. I think Pantoja is the better fighter. He actually has beaten both of the guys that are fighting for the belt later on this card. Alex Perez, I'm almost confident this is his first fight since losing to Figueiredo. He's just had a bunch of might have had COVID, had to pull out of a fight. His opponent had to pull out of a fight. And this is his first one since 2020. So it's been a while since we've seen Alex Perez. And I think Pantoja is the dark horse in the 125 division. And he just has an advantage on the ground. And if it comes to in a stand-up affair, I'd lean towards Alex Perez. But I think Pantoja in all of his fights, he's landed a takedown. He brings it to the ground. So as a 3-1 dog, the prop for submission, that's probably where I'm leaning. And I'm fairly confident that Pantoja gets his hand raised if it goes the distance.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm going to drink the juice, just because I don't want to get greedy. I've already got a lot of plus money on this card. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rock with Pantoja money line. And like you said, I can't believe that they were thinking about, cutting this division, because you look at it now and there's some great fighters in here. And I mean, just some of the fights that we've had recently have been just some of the fight of the years. And like that, Moreno, you could argue, which is going to be on this card later here. A lot of people argue that he still should be the champion. So there's a lot to be unsettled or to be settled in this division. And I think it's only going to continue to keep getting spicier with the more contenders like this coming up through it too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Shout out to Henry Cejudo, saved the flyweights, and it's become a pretty interesting division for sure. All right, next one, from the lightest division in the UFC to the heavyweights. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, is back, coming in as an underdog. Kind of surprising when I first saw this line, Mickey. I'll be honest with you. Going up against Sergey Pavlovich as a minus 125 favorite. Now, the fight to not go the distance is minus 700. So it's telling you that chances are it's not going to go the length.
I think Derek Lewis would fall down and just lay down before that fight went the distance.
Yeah, for sure. So with that being said, I think the interesting approach to this one would be betting either of the guys to win in the first round. You can get Derek Lewis, and I was blown away by this, dude. Plus 275 to win in the first round. That's wild to me for a guy who is the most explosive in the first round. He has the most knockouts in UFC history in the heavyweight division. And going up against a guy in Pavlovich who also is coming off a first round finish as well. I think these guys are going to be slugging it out. It's minus 700, doesn't go to distance. And I'm looking towards both of these guys ending it early, in particular in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, in his last 5 fights, Pavlovich has not gone past the first round. So the fact that you can get some of those big plus monies for a first round finish from on that side is a little wild to me. I'm leaning with Derek Lewis here. I think that he kind of gets back on the right track. I'm probably going to be a little bit on his money line, but I'm definitely going to hunt a prop probably first round because, like you said, I mean, can't agree more that that's where he's most explosive. And it's really just hard to picture Derek Lewis trying to go anywhere past the first round. Anytime he gets past there, that's when we start seeing. We saw it with Tai Tuivasa. It didn't even seem like he really got hit that hard. He just kind of like fell over. I don't know if that was maybe just the fact that he was so exhausted. It really doesn't take much to get him out of there. But I mean, Derek Lewis, he's never been the one to tell you he's like, hey, I'm going to go this whole fight here and grind out a decision. He's looking to either get you out early or he's getting out of there.
Yeah, and if you also look at Derek Lewis, man, he's really lost to like top guys, right? He has losses over guys that have either won the belt or fought for the belt. When he fought Chris Daukaus, remember he was a dog in that fight, and my friends and I, it's one of the biggest straight bets I ever made. I laid like $300 on him. I was like, there's no way. Like this guy, Chris Daukaus, was coming on a 4-fight finish streak, got steamrolled to the top, main event against Derek Lewis. It's like Derek Lewis feasts on these like fringe top 10 non-champion worthy heavyweights. So unless Pavlovich is like the second coming of Volkov, I don't see it. He's coming off a massive layoff. I know he fought recently, but prior to that, he didn't fight for 2 years. So I'm with you, man. I think the Black Beast gets it done. Again, it's going to be in Texas. He's going to cut a hell of a promo after. I'm with you. And at plus money, I think it's very interesting.
All right, what do we got next?
Next, we got the first of the 2 title fights. Brandon Moreno coming in at minus 205 against Kai Kara France, better known to some as Steve. You know the story of him being called Steve?
I don't. Enlighten me.
So Cody Garbrandt just kept calling him Steve. And when they were fighting, and then he ended up getting knocked out by Steve. So now, like, my friends and I, we just call him Steve Kara France. But remember before I was telling you about an underdog that won that was 3-1, but I was taking his knockouts and I was it was Kai Kara France against Askarov. He was like plus 375 in that fight, and I felt like the only way he could win would be inside the distance. So I took him by knockout. I took him to win inside the distance, and he ends up winning a decision. And my friends were just like, dude, was plus 375 not good enough for you? Like, what the hell are we doing? So I just wanted to bring up that story before I throw it to you to kick us off with this flyweight fight.
Yeah, man, I like Kai, and I think there is a path for him to win this fight, but there's just no way I can fade Moreno after. I mean, he's going to be a man on a mission. He's going to be doing anything he can to get back to that title shot. I'm sure he believes that he won that fight. I'm sure he believes that he should be fighting for the belt. So it's tough for me to think that the only way I could really see it is if maybe he's distracted. He is looking ahead, but because if he is looking ahead, Kai he's not a guy you want to be looking ahead on. But If he comes into this one focused, I think he gets it done. I think he's a decent parlay piece here. He's sitting at minus 205. You get another one of those guys that we talked about earlier that definitely some juicier guys on this card that should win. I think you can get that price down a little bit, but I'm going with Moreno on this one. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think Moreno is the more complete MMA fighter. Anywhere the fight goes, he feels really comfortable. And, we saw him exchange blows with Figueiredo, too, who has a lot of knockout power for this division as well. I think Moreno to win by submission is a prop that I'm definitely going to bet. You get that at plus 380, plus 350 in many spots. Though Kai Kara France coming from City Kickboxing, they really put an emphasis on takedown defense. All of their fighters have amazing takedown defense. Even guys like Adesanya, who transitions over from kickboxing, having never grappled, he has some of the best takedown defense in all of the UFC. So to me, Kai Kara France, I am giving him a chance too because he does have amazing cardio as well. And this is a 5-round fight. This is his first ever 5-round fight that he's been in. I'm a fan of Kai Kara France, and I like it when he's a dog. So I'm definitely going to play both sides of this fight. I think Moreno by submission or via decision is how I'm betting that. And I think Kai Kara France to win by knockout or decision is how I would probably play it. And I know I'm, playing both sides here, but, we've talked about this many times, how, you can straight bet all of these scenarios we gave you and still turn a profit because of how those props are laid out. So that's kind of my approach for this fight here, Mickey. But who do you got Moreno, right?
I got Moreno winning. If I had to pick a side, no props or anything, if I just had to say who's coming out on top, I'm going to go with Moreno to get his hand raised after this one.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Just on the surface, just betting aside, I would lean towards Moreno. I think he's the better fighter here. All right, main event time. And this one is, I feel like, dude, if you ask 10 different people about this fight, you get 10 different responses. It's been fascinating to just hear the different takes between the champ, Juliana Pena, coming in as a plus 220, plus 225 underdog against the GOAT, the women's GOAT, Amanda Nunes, who is minus 275. Now, let's flash back to December. I had the honor, Mickey, of interviewing George St. Pierre for one of my shows, and it was right before this fight. And he said something really interesting because the whole talking point going into that card was, it's not if she's going to win, it's how, right, about Nunes. And he said, not so fast. Like, be careful because when you're on top, you start to get complacent. You don't go for that third workout, right? You don't go for that fourth workout because you're the champ and you've been untouchable. And it was fascinating hearing him say it because he's a part of one of the biggest upsets in UFC history when he lost to Matt Serra. The reason why I bring all that up is because we saw Nunes fatigue very fast, and she tapped with, the rear naked choke wasn't even locked in fully, didn't get the hooks in. Like, it kind of looked like a fatigue tap there. So depending on how you're handicapping this, in my opinion, it's either is Nunes, was that a fluke? And if it is, these lines on Nunes are super enticing because they're about a quarter of what they should be, right? Like, we're getting like a 75% discount based on what the first fight was.
Right.
Or, and I'll let you answer this after I present this question. Is she done? Is this just like, are we just, it's past her prime?
See, I won't say it was as far as a fluke because I think Pena, obviously, she earned it. She put in the work. I think she did that. But I think it was more on the fact that, like you were just talking about, I think Nunes got complacent. I think she got, she kind of like GSP was saying, like when you're up on top, and especially when you're not really being challenged for a while, it's hard to keep that grind going. You got to have that motivation. And like, this is all the motivation she needed. She gets not that long of a turnaround. I think she's been grinding. We've seen some clips of her, talking about how she's coming for that belt. And I mean, obviously, what else are you going to say? You're not going to say you're not coming for the belt, but I think she comes out and makes a statement here. I think she comes right back for her title of being the GOAT, and I think we're getting a huge discount here. I can't believe 70% of the bets I've seen, like at different sports books, are on Pena. I understand she just beat her, but I think the reason that was because Nunes didn't take that fight very seriously. She was clearly fatigued. She was clearly, and so many people are talking about like, well, Nunes doesn't have the gas tank. Nunes doesn't have this. Like Pena can, play the long game. Pena's never even gone 5 rounds. Pena's never done that before. Nunes has. I think it was fatigue. I think she didn't take this fight seriously at all. I think this getting this at minus 275 or anywhere around that range is just crazy to me. And like you said, it's like a 75% discount. And when you put bigger bets on those value lines of like plus, 200 because you think it should be a pick 'em, it's the same thing here. It's just you're drinking some juice, but I think, Nunes at minus 275 is not necessarily a gift because nothing's a gift in the MMA, as you saw last time when she was, one of the biggest upsets we've seen in a long time. But man, I'm going to be hammering Nunes on this one.
Yeah, man. And, definitely respect to Pena for winning that first fight. And also the one thing that I really liked about Pena is she kept asking for this fight. Dana White and all the UFC brass, anytime they would say no one wants to fight this girl, she'd be like, yo, I'm right here. Like, what are you talking about? I want to fight her. Something very interesting. Amanda Nunes, this is the second time that she has a rematch. Valentina was the other time. And very similar to Valentina, she looked very gassed in the first affair. And then in the second affair, she worked on her cardio. She came in with a better, more improved game plan. And also she got humbled by Juliana Pena too, right? It's also important to note that that was her first title defense at 135 in about 2 years, her fight against Juliana Pena. And she had suffered COVID right before that. So we don't know if COVID played an issue with her gas tank as well. It could have, right? Because that's one of the issues that people face when they get COVID. So it was very close to when this fight was going down. I'm with you, man. I think Nunes wins this inside the distance is how I would play it as well. I think she is a fine parlay piece to win outright. And I think they set up a third fight. I mean, it would be 1-1. And there's not much else at the 135 division going on right now. And I think if it's 1-1 and Nunes gets the finish, which is what I think both of us think is going to happen, why not? It's good money for the UFC.
I don't agree. I can't agree more. And I want to stress that I don't think it was necessarily a fluke. And I'm not saying Pena isn't like a decent fighter at all. That's not what I'm saying. I just think Nunes is levels above. And when she's, on her game, like you said, there's so many reasons that you can point to that I don't think that Nunes was necessarily taking it seriously and or the COVID related. I just think that getting this line at this number is just crazy to me. I can't pass up on it. I'm definitely going to be having the inside the distance props as well. And like you said, it's probably the best thing for the sport as well to get a third fight in this one.
Yeah, I think my the one thing just to push back a little bit on Nunes is that she left her team after this, after her loss. ATT, that's where she became the GOAT. So it's gonna be interesting to see with her gym now how this is gonna play out. But I think we're on the same page here. All right, let's do some best bets right now. I have a couple. Do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and lead us off. So first fight on the card we talked about, if you weren't in here yet, Blood Diamond money line. I'm gonna be rocking with him. One of my favorite plays on this one. And then moving over to Alvis. I'm going Rafael Alvis. I like him on the money line as well. Another dog in this one. And then I'll give you a favorite. We're going Pantoja. I think he gets it done. I'll take the money line there as well. And then Amanda Nunes has got to be one of my favorite plays on this one as well. You can either drink the juice. I think that she gets it done. You can take inside the distance. I'll be on that as well. But those are probably my 4 about favorite fights on this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on Blood Diamond, man. I'm believing the talent and him being a big prospect coming in. And most importantly, I trust that camp. City Kickboxing is just an amazing camp. So I'm on Blood Diamond. I like Derek Lewis to win that fight. Also like him to win by knockout. I think that's very interesting. And I like Pantoja to win by sub, as well as Brandon Moreno to win that fight outright. And if you want to punt on a dog that I think has a good chance to win, and he's a 4-1 dog, Anthony Smith. I know we gave a bunch of like plays that we like, but you got some nice numbers on there too. And if you rewatch this, you could hear some of the insight as far as like how we think some of these fights are going to play out.
For sure.
All right,
All
man.
right.
This was good to reconnect, do this. It's been a while. We've been busy, summertime, but we're back. Hopefully you guys could get some winners out of this. Mickey could continue to be plus 20 units on every card. That's how we're doing it. And maybe we could get some hashtag screenshot life when we hit a parlay this weekend.
Yeah, if we can go, if we hit 25 units again or something like that, man, I don't even know what I'm going to do. All
right. Hey, good luck, everybody, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.